back. So we were just doing...
I can't imagine my mom ever writing poetry, and yet...
A poem for Gus, who always said the wedding was a bad idea. Our father never hit us kids, at least not very hard, before the day my brother said with teenage disregard that he'd be dead before he'd see a wedding in our yard.
We kind of careful with this.
My father made him come, of course, but Gus stood far apart, just flew his kite and bottled up the storm inside his heart. I tried to talk him out of it, but though he'd never met her, "We don't need a stepmom," were the words that
I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride.
I have no idea what you're actually meant to do. Oh.
When the time for photos came, Dad ordered him to come here. But Gus declined, and as a sign held up his middle finger. The wind picked up, and panicked geese appeared and quickly went. But all the humans did that day was go inside the tent. The rain came down in buckets then, but no one seemed afraid that nature might destroy the tent our dad had crudely made. Thunder sounded much too close and full of angry power.
Oh
All
no.
my father said to this was, "Make the music louder."
I already tell what's gonna happen at the end of this. Yeah.
I wish that I could truly say I thought about you on that day. Out there on the beach alone, just you, the wind, the sea, and foam. But I didn't. Until we found you.
She never talked about him, but Mom told me once if I was a boy, they were going to name me Gus. My mom moved up to the loft after her brothers died. At the time, it was as far away as she could get. She spent a summer building houses in Calcutta, where she met my dad, Sanjay. Religion was another thing my mom never talked about, but I think it helped her a lot after her dad died.
I'm not a big fan of it, but hey, each their own. If you find comfort in something, don't let anyone else take that away from you. Okay. Probably be something here.
mom moved to India a week after graduation and got a job teaching English. Lewis was born a year later. When my dad died, I don't think Mom knew where else to go. I'm sure Edie was happy to have her back. The house had to get a little bigger, but Edie was used to that.
Fucking big house. Cool looking house though.
And for a while, things were good. Almost normal, but it didn't last. The beginning of the end was Milton's 10th birthday, when Edie gave him a castle. After Milton disappeared, the only thing he left behind was a room full of paintings.
Whoa. Guess we'll get into this somehow. Yep, called it. This is probably the coolest little workroom you could ever have.
Milton Finch in The Magic Paintbrush.
Ask me about the slip books, right? Huh. Okay.
I was 4 when Milton disappeared. Mom spent months searching for my brother. Then she sealed the doors. Whatever Milton had found in the house, Mom didn't want it getting out. Mom definitely blamed Edie, but I think Lewis blamed himself. After he graduated, he just spent more and more time in his room, until Mom got him a job at the cannery. Lewis's room smelled very, very familiar. That part of him lived on.
But I'm guessing the rest of him didn't.
Lewis and I spent a lot of time playing games together, but he was surprisingly bad at them. He died a lot.
Dear Mrs. Finch, as Lewis's psychiatrist, I can understand your desire for an explanation. As I see it, the trouble began in January, shortly after we convinced your son to seek treatment for substance abuse. Newly sober, I believe Lewis first noticed the monotony of his daily life. He kept working at the cannery, but he withdrew part of himself. In our sessions, I saw the same behavior. His mind began to...
I don't know what I meant to.
wander.
It's kind of weird. I'm controlling the movement of the
I
little guy
asked
to
him
the
to
left
describe it.
with my left stick and the fish to my right.
He said he started small, imagining a labyrinth. He'd feel his way about. Then something moved. Bats. And toads. And things that have not names. He knew it was all in his head. But he took it very seriously. I had hoped he'd find himself. But he found something more.
Oh shit.
I worried about him then. Daydreaming at the cannery. I spoke with his boss. But he said Lewis had become a model employee. Methodical, tireless, focused. Like a whole new Lewis. So I let him go on.
I don't think I have a very interactive imagination, but this would be really cool.
I even encouraged him. It seemed very promising at first. He told me he'd made a new friend. On the edge of a city he named Lewis Topia. He built the city up slowly, brick by brick. Then he made musicians. And songs for them to play. He talked about starting a band. And he was always humming something. Every day his imagination grew stronger. He no longer spoke at the cannery. But his chopping was as reliable as ever. Then one day it struck him that all the cheering crowds, even the stones under his feet, were all in his imagination, so he could do whatever he wished. He held an election for mayor. And he won.
Little Mario reference.
They begged him to stay, but his mind was already wandering. It became a game for him. He'd conquer a city, then immediately push on. New Louisville.
Kind of curious whether if you mess up a lot of this
St. Louis.
chopping, if you no longer become a model employee, like that actually affects it.
He
So I've-
started drifting away from our reality.
Doing a lot of this.
Minneapolis, until one day he forgot to go home from the cannery. Even as his mother pleaded with him, part of Lewis kept sailing on. In Lewisburg, he heard rumors of a
handsome queen.
handsome queen. The queen was on her own quest for
Right, sinister serpents, man. Sick.
sinister serpents. He followed the sound of her
Oh, the harp.
silver harp. His chase led him to a golden palace east of the sun and west of the moon. Even then, his logic remained sound. He knew the world was all in his imagination.
2 seconds, man. Gotta get rid of some of this fish. Doing that here. I can't really do it when there's a back pile of it.
But he was so proud of having created it. In his own eyes, he'd become something greater than a king. For someone who'd never known success in the real world, I think it was overwhelming. And then it struck him that the real Lewis was not the one chopping salmon, but the one climbing the steps of a golden palace. My imagination is as real as my body, he told me. It was hard to argue with him.
Oh. That was a cool transition to like his real mundane life. This is probably my new favourite segment already. It's really cool.
He began to forget the world we know. I think it pained him to remember Lewis, the cannery worker.
Oh, this is us.
He began to despise the man with a royal contempt. I still thought I could save him. Even after he said he was being crowned king over all the lands of wonder. The palace would be packed with his companions. Including the wise Calico who'd insisted on advising him. crown.
It's more like a fucking guillotine there, everything there. Yeah, it is.
There was only one thing left to do.
Oh no.
Bend down his head. And the rest I think you know. Mrs. Finch, your son was a kind man who will be missed by all of us who knew him.
Jesus.
My brother was really cool. I wish you could have met him.
Wow, that was a really dark ending. To a rather light-hearted. That's one of the things with these. They a lot of them are light-hearted. They start, but they take a kind of dark turn.
On the way back from Lewis's funeral, my mom told me to start packing. She waited until the day before we left to tell Edie. I'm not sure if she wanted to make it easier or harder. I wish we'd stayed. But I understand why we left. My mom ended up leaving everything behind. What happened that night had been coming for a long time. Maybe it should have come sooner.
Oh, this is our room.
But it had to end one way or another. All that's left now is to tell you about that last night. That whole last day, Edie just watched us pack and didn't say a word. Until supper, when she raised her glass and said,
"To our final night together, and all our final nights apart."
Grandma, you know what I said about alcohol. Some of your medications are very
Edith,
specific.
I left a present for you in the hallway. Why don't you go open it? The grown-ups have to argue now.
I'm sorry, you're right. We're all leaving tomorrow. Let's just enjoy our last...
I'm not leaving.
Edith, you're excused.
The power had been shut off that morning, but Edie always had plenty of candles. When my mom sealed the library, I don't think she knew about the other entrance. Or that Edie had a key to it.
That thing you're afraid of isn't going to end when you leave the house. Edith has a right to know these stories.
My children are dead because of your stories. I think it's best if Edith and I leave tonight. We'll have the nursing home send a van for you in the morning. Okay?
Dear Edith, there's so many stories I wish I could tell you, but there's only time for one. This is about what happened on the night you were born. That night, the tide went way, way out. It was the first and last time I ever saw the old house aground. There'd been an earthquake out in the middle of the ocean. They called it the lowest tide in 1,000 years. God, it smelled awful. You know, I've seen that house every day of my life. But I never thought I'd go back to it. When the fog rolled in, I lost my way. I got turned around. For a while, I wandered. I started seeing things. Things I'd forgotten had ever existed. But when I saw them, they felt like old friends. That night, a lot of things came back to me. Or maybe I came back to them.
This is the
Things
old
I
house.
can't explain, but that I need you to try and...
Edith, what are you doing in here?
It's mine.
Edith!
Mom, you're gonna rip it. Let go! I kicked and screamed, but Mom dragged me to the car. I never saw Great-Grandma Edie again. The next morning, the van came to pick her up, but she was already gone. After that, we moved around a lot. We both tried to make the best of it. A few years went by. My mom doesn't like to talk about it. But she started getting sick a lot. The rest happened pretty quickly. She got better for a while, and then she didn't. And then I was alone. The last Finch left alive. Until I found out about you. I'm still not sure what to tell you about all this. If we lived forever, maybe we'd have time to understand things. But as it is, I think the best we can do is try to open our eyes. And appreciate how strange and brief all of this is. This journal was supposed to be for you. But now I hope you'll never see it. I just want to meet you. And tell you all these stories myself. But I guess if you're reading this now, things didn't work out that way. This is where your story begins. I'm sorry I won't be there to see it. It's a lot to ask, but I don't want you to be sad that I'm gone. I want you to be amazed that any of us ever had a chance to be here at all. Good luck.
Oh. That was really good. We still missed out on a few though. We didn't find Dawn, Odin, or Eddie. And there's Kay, Sven, and Bod. I'm guessing there's other path routes you can take. Different ways to get 3 different ways to enter around the building and so forth to find them. So, I guess I can actually talk without being interrupted now. Would I recommend this game? 100%, although you kind of missed out slightly if you've watched the full thing of me playing it. I actually might do a let's talk on this. This is actually... It surprised me just how much I enjoyed it. Yeah, no, I just got drove by the way, that's what the pop-up was. Just on. I'm guessing there's a bunch of other stuff you can do in this. On, more run-throughs. Which I might consider looking into. Probably not going to stream more run-throughs of it, because I don't feel that that's necessary unless this is something that actually ends up being requested to be seen again. And if that is the case, then of course I'll always do something that you guys want to see me do. But no, I'll probably end up going through, messing around, and trying it out. I actually want to see what some of the streamers, their reactions to some of the stuff in here. Okay. So I click replay story. Okay. So I missed Dawn. Did I miss Dawn? Yeah, I missed Dawn, I missed Alter. No, I got Water. And I missed Odin. Wait, I missed... I'm trying to remember I missed now, shit. No, we did Edie, didn't we? Just quickly check though, actually. No, which one that was. I think that's the, One that gets ripped out of our hands before we can finish it, correct? I like to just go through and finish off the final 2 story bits for everyone to actually be able to see them all. Yeah, no, we have done that one. Let's go do Dawn. I'm guessing that the little symbol wrapping around means that it was an optional path as to which one you could have done. So I could have actually taken a different route to get to Dawn instead. Which is fun. Apparently still.
That whole last day, Edie just watched us pack and didn't say a word. Until supper, when she raised her glass and said,
"To our final night together, and all our final nights apart."
Grandma, you know what I said about alcohol. Some of your medications are very
Edith,
specific.
I left a present for you in the hallway. Why don't you go open it? The grown-ups have to argue now.
I'm sorry, you're right. We're all leaving tomorrow. Let's just enjoy our last...
I'm not leaving.
Edith, you're excused.
The power had been shut off that morning, but Edie always had plenty of candles. When my mom sealed the library, I don't think she knew about the other entrance. Or that Edie had a key to it.
Yeah, I'm just checking other routes now. I'm a bit conscious of this. Okay. So does that mean that I've clicked that one will now let us see what Dawn's thing is?
That thing you're afraid of isn't going to end when you leave the house. Edith has a right to know these stories.
My children are dead because of your stories. I think it's best if Edith and I leave tonight. We'll have the nursing home send a van for you in the morning. Okay?
Dear Edith, there's so many stories I wish I could tell. You, but there's only time for one. This is about what happened on the night you were born. That night, the tide went way, way out.
I think this is just a repeat.
It was the first and...
I mean, this is just a repeat. Let's try out Odin. We might just have to not do Dawn. Don't know how you trigger it.
Her room was like a museum.
Oh, Odin's was here, I must have missed it. Oh, this
For
was...
500 years, the Finches had Odin Finch buries the latest victims of the family curse. His wife, Ingeborg, and their newborn son, Johann. On January 7th, 1937, he set sail with his family and his house, hoping to leave the curse behind.
I had trigger stops on so I couldn't actually go through this quicker. That's why I stopped.
But 40-foot waves off the coast of Washington send the house and Odin to the bottom of the sea. Odin's daughter Edie with husband Sven and baby Molly, step ashore on their new home, Orcas Island. Odin Finch is the first to be buried in the new family cemetery. His daughter Edie is already dreaming of a new Finch house.
Okay.
Whatever's wrong with this family, it goes back a long ways.
Okay, hang on. I think Dawn is our mother. Yeah. So we actually have that. The only one we missed was Odin's cemetery cells were turned on. There we go. Wow.
Edie knit me a new pair of gloves every year, just in time to replace the old ones. Louis died a week before we left, but Edie had already started to memorialize him.
I guess I hit new game. Oh no, don't go rest. I like being able to actually replay all my stories. Well, I do hope you ended up enjoying that. I did quite a bit. Yeah, it was a fucking good game. I don't have much to say on this other than I'll see you in the next one. And I actually might have a full review on this. I enjoyed it that much. Peace.